What have you learned from your audience feedback? When creating a music product, audience feedback is a priority, as from this audience feedback we could retain vital information which could then be applied to our product to make it as appealing as possible. Before coming up with a concept for our media product, we each separately did various interviews with indie pop music listeners, whereby we discovered the main aspects and points that an indie pop audience expects to see when viewing a product from their preferred genre. After conducting these interviews, we learnt that our audience would prefer that the female was the main focus in our piece, that our piece would evoke some emotion, and additionally, that our artists wore alternative clothes as this would be aesthetically pleasing. From our audience feedback, after our animatic, which displayed our shots both visually and the type of shot that we would use, we were made aware that some of our shots would not work or appeal to our audience. For example, one of the things that we changed as a result of audience feedback was a tilt shot from the girl above the table to the girl below, with the teddy bears popping in from the sides of the shot using frame composition. From audience feedback, we gathered that this shot would make our product seem more childish and not appeal to our target demographic of young adults aged 17 to 24, especially as it would detract from the voyeuristic treatment of the female body, and the female as the main focus of the piece. After filming and editing the majority of our media product, we showed this to our target demographic in order to receive further audience feedback. Reflecting on this feedback, we then proceeded to reshoot a lot of our film as the shots were not as bright and sunny as our audience would have liked. We also decided after the audience feedback that our piece should definitely contain more props to add more intertextuality for our piece. Once we added the idea of using more props, our target audience thought that our product would appeal a lot more. As the audience was the most important part of our product, as this was our selling point, everything they said had to be taken into consideration. Our product was almost finished when we next showed it to our target audience. Our audience had also seen our preliminary piece and had really liked this. From this audience feedback, we thought that we could perhaps include part of this as it was a breakup song and the story of our main product was based on the aftermath of a breakup. This audience feedback was perhaps the most vital we had retained so far, as we were able to add a vintage vibe which the audience wanted in these shots by desaturating them due to the fact that they were amplifying the breakup. From our preliminary, we used the music and the aspects of falling asleep and daydreaming to achieve a utopian universe. By adding these shots in, the narrative of our entire music video was a lot more planned and made much more sense to our target audience. Without this audience feedback, we wouldn't have come up with these shots and there's no initial plan to do this. Also, by doing this, our product would be immediately recognisable to any fans of the artist who had seen the previous video or had heard the previous track, Casper. As well as our main product, audience feedback was extremely important in the creation of our ancillary texts. Whilst I was creating the digipack, I continuously forward samples to target audience members in order to retain feedback. Whilst discussing options with the audience, I learned that they preferred the main cover of the album to be fully based on a photograph and only the inside slides using things like presets and vintage wallpapers. Following this audience feedback, only one of my slides contained a vintage wallpaper, which looking back was probably an extremely clever choice as it was exactly what the audience wanted. The audience members also relayed to me that they liked the images to be quite simple but focused on the female artist. I continued this theme into the website using the simplest image as the background with plain white and small aspects of colour and keeping the colour palette neutral but effective in order to appeal to our target audience as much as possible.